After Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk's acquisition of Twitter, one of the big political questions looming over the platform is whether Donald Trump will get his account back. Meanwhile, progressives are sounding the alarm about billionaire control of media and big tech companies. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. I'm guessing by now most of you have heard the news about Twitter, unless you're not on Twitter, in which case, congratulations on having a life, because Twitter has stolen mine. Do you guys remember when Twitter started and the big complaint was people posting pictures of their food? Just remember, it can always get worse than food. It's like when your aunt goes on forever about her favorite restaurant and you think, this story sucks, and then your uncle starts talking about how tough white people have it, and you realize you missed the restaurant story. In fact, when it comes to Twitter, I wish I had the same approach to posting that actor Michael Caine has. On Monday, he tweeted out of nowhere, after several months of silence, "Hello." And then almost immediately followed that up with a second tweet that said, "Good night, my sweet ones." And hasn't tweeted since. He popped in, took one look around, and then he just got the hell out of there. I imagine that Michael Caine checking out what was going on with Twitter looked a lot like this.
Go.
Elon, you were only supposed to blow the bloody doors off. We asked ourselves, can we shoehorn a Michael Caine impression into a closer look today? And the answer was, yes, we can. Among the many questions now looming over Twitter after Musk's acquisition of the company is whether Donald Trump, who used his Twitter account to foment coups, direct harassment, disseminate dangerous lies, disinformation, and racism, will get his account back. For his part, Trump himself has said that even if he's allowed to return, he won't.
Ever since Elon Musk first raised the prospect a couple of weeks ago that he might buy Twitter, speculation has swirled that, among other things, this could result in the former president, Donald Trump, rejoining the social media site. Trump, of course, was banned from Twitter January of last year for using the site to try to foment a violent insurrection to overthrow the U.S. government. In response to the speculation that he might be reinstated to the platform under an Elon Musk-owned version of Twitter, Trump himself has reportedly said that he won't rejoin Twitter even if he's allowed to.
I'm sorry, but there's no way Trump won't immediately go back to tweeting if he's given the chance. He'll go back to tweeting with the same energy Marty McFly went back to the future, which makes sense because compared to Twitter, Truth Social feels like kissing your mom, and I think that joke really illustrates the power of love. Can you feel it? Plus, Trump doesn't have the self-restraint to stay off Twitter. Offering him his Twitter back is like offering Keith Richards a cigarette. Yeah, I'm already smoking one, but all right. I guess that's what these two fingers are for. Twitter was Trump's lifeblood. He once called himself the Ernest Hemingway of Twitter, and according to Politico, he used to marvel at how quickly his tweets appear on the television screen. He's like a cat in a science experiment who figures out if he rings the bell, he gets a treat. Ring the bell, get a treat. It's one of the best deals I've ever made. It's because ringing the bell, it cost me nothing, so easy. And the treats, let me tell you about the treats. There's tuna, and there's chicken. And let me just say for the record that while banning Trump from Twitter has always been complicated, I think it would be terrible, certainly for me, if Trump got his Twitter back. Mainly not having him on Twitter has just been a huge quality of life improvement. Although I will admit, there have been times when, against my better instincts, I have wondered what Trump would have tweeted during big news stories. Less for the awful opinions and more for the weird grammar and punctuation. Like, can you imagine what he would have said about Will Smith at the Oscars? Many people are saying the slap punch was a violent assault crime, but I think it was staged. Watch tape again. TiVo, comedian Chris Rock barely flinched. In on it, hashtag witch hunt, hashtag release the Snyder Cut. But Trump claims he still wants to steer people toward his dumb social media platform, which has had a rocky rollout, including bugs and glitches that have made it difficult for people to join. And it can't help that Trump himself seems incapable of remembering or even pronouncing the name of his own site, which is called Truth Social, as we learned during a Trump rally in Ohio last week.
They conspired to ban me from every social media platform on the face of the earth. Millions and millions of you had already experienced big tech's vicious censorship. Because of this digital tyranny, we had to give the American people their voice back by building something called Truth Central.
And just amazing. He got mad at Twitter and made up his own version out of pure vengeance, and he can't even remember what it's called. This is like if Darth Vader was giving a speech to unveil the Death Star and said, "Soon the universe will bow to the Empire. I give you the kill ball. Death ball, Kevin? Is Kevin back there? What is it again? No, but it's not really a star, though, is it, Kevin? No, I get it. Ball's not great. Thank you, Kevin." Also, can we just watch that clip one more time?
We had to give the American people their voice back by building something called Truth Central.
The best is in his head, he's like, I'm glad I saved that troth part. Stumbled on troth, but then got it back.
But yeah, everyone should join Donald Trump's new social media platform, Truth Central. Truth Central sounds like the name of a law enforcement agency in a dystopian sci-fi movie where Tom Cruise arrests people for crimes before they happen. Maybe that explains why Rudy Giuliani always looks like a precog who just woke up. You don't have to be a precog to know we were going to use that picture of Rudy again. Let me save y'all the slime bath. And maybe Trump's inability to advertise his own social media site is hurting its success because they're clearly desperate for people to sign up. On Tuesday, the CEO of Truth Social, former Congressman Devin Nunes, perhaps the world's only post-cog, pleaded with the hosts of Fox and Friends to join the site and revealed that their version of the word tweet is truth, meaning that a post on the site is known as a truth, and posting a truth is known as truthing, which is, of course, incredibly dumb. And sounds even dumber coming out of Nunes' mouth.
We're so excited that you're on Truth. You're getting followers very, very quickly, but you need to send some truths out if you want to get more followers. But also, Brian, you're on Truth. We need you to Truth. But Ducey, I got to talk to him. So he's got to turn his phone on and click on the app. He's been let in.
Every time you think your life is bad, just remember you could be a former congressman begging Brian Kilmeade, a man with the eyes of a Cabbage Patch doll, to send out truths. Nunes sounds like he should be in a phone booth begging his bookie to let him place one more bet. Oh, come on, Ricky, you know I'm good for it. I got a horse who's a guaranteed winner. I want to put $1 million on him. They call him Truth Central Truth? No, wait, the Truth Star? Oh, God, wait, don't hang up on me, Ricky. Nunes always looks like he should be crying in his car in the parking lot of Lumen Industries. That's our second reference to Severance, the Apple TV show that has taken the late-night offices by storm. The first was on Monday, and based on the response from the audience, it seemed like not everyone was caught up, but it's Wednesday now. So to update us on where you are in regards to Severance, do please go to @SeaCaptainPolls on Twitter, where the options will be yes, I'm caught up now, no, I'm still behind, or who the is the sea captain? And just to show you how bad the bugs are on Trump's Truth Social app, later in the interview, Fox host Steve Ducey did as instructed. He opened his phone and told Nunes he was still on a waiting list to join the app.
Congressman, I'm looking, I just signed on, and it says, I have been created successfully. Due to massive demand, we have placed you on a wait list. I'm number 621,000 still.
A waiting list? Isn't the whole point of the internet that everything is instant? This is like if you clicked on Apple Maps and it was just a list of places where you can buy a map. But even with their own social media platform at stake, Trump, Nunes, and their fellow Republicans are still celebrating the news about Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk finalizing a deal to buy Twitter. And I have to say, it's certainly an interesting decision from a business perspective, to say the least, given that Twitter is not even profitable.
Elon Musk is taking over Twitter to the tune of $44 billion. After weeks of corporate wrangling, Twitter's board of directors accepting the billionaire's buyout offer in a unanimous vote.
What do we know about Elon Musk's plans to monetize Twitter, a company that hasn't made a profit for 8 of the past 10 years?
One of the consistent issues that Twitter has had for a very long time has been making this company consistently profitable, and for a very long time that hasn't been the case. But I think this is really more about ideology for Elon.
Musk has, according to him, raised about $13 billion from Morgan Stanley. He's got another $12.5 billion he will help fund with loans against his Tesla stock, and he's adding $21 billion of his own cash.
$44 billion. I mean, with money like that, you could do something about poverty or climate change or world hunger and still have enough left over to, I don't know, get a decent haircut? Looks like Tesla isn't the only thing that uses plugs. Please don't kick me off Twitter, Elon. Please. It's the only place I can go where people call me a cuck. I know it's a crazy thing to like, but classic cuck behavior, right? So obviously there are potentially some really bad outcomes here, but regardless of whether you're pro-Musk or anti-Musk, let's maybe take a step back and reconsider whether it's a good thing that everyone's just rooting for different billionaires like sports teams, which are also owned by billionaires. In fact, I've been reminded of repeatedly by my crew after hedge fund titan Steve Cohen bought the Mets, who now have the most wins in baseball, and seeing how it's April, that should hold up. Famously, the Mets are in October what they are in April. Yesterday, after the Mets won their 6th series in a row, our security guard, Jim Breyer, came up to me weeping and said, "This is the greatest day of my life." And then I asked him what the second best day was, and he said, "When you got COVID." Not cool, Jim. Not cool. Not that I'd ever say that to his face. I mean, look at the guy. I once talked to what I thought was Jim for 20 minutes, and it turned out it was just a rock in Central Park. Maybe, just maybe, it's not healthy for our democracy when Twitter, Facebook, and the Washington Post are all owned by some of the richest men in the world, not to mention the fact that Fox, the Wall Street Journal, and a network of right-wing media outlets are owned by another right-wing billionaire who's on the list of the 100 richest people in the world. That's not a free market, that's an oligarchy, which is why workers and major companies like Amazon and Starbucks are trying to win back power by unionizing, a movement that's growing stronger by the day. Bernie Sanders and AOC rallied with Amazon workers in Staten Island over the weekend, and Bernie recently took to the Senate floor to champion the reinvigorated union movement in typical Bernie fashion.
Unions provide better wages, benefits, and working conditions for their members. That is what unions do, not complicated. That is why it makes sense to join a union and why it makes sense for us to do everything that we can to grow the trade union movement in this country. And I know there are some folks out there who are not union members and they're saying, well, it doesn't really impact me. You're wrong. It does.
I love when Bernie cuts through the bullshit. I wish they would have let him host Jeopardy. What is the Spanish Armada? You're wrong. Aren't you supposed to tell us the right answer? Now, if you want to know the right answers, you should have studied harder. Now, pick a category or I'll pick it for you. No one knows how Musk's acquisition of Twitter will turn out or whether Trump will return to the platform and what the effect of that will be. But one thing we can know for sure is that this much power and wealth in the hands of so few people is definitely bad for democracy. We need a system that relies less on the power of money and more on the power of love. When it barely got a reaction the first time, did you think, oh no, that's our callback? You know what this means, Sal. You know where you and I have to go. Back to the future! Don't do the power of love joke! Let's see, we did a little Michael Caine. We got that in there. Keith Richards. Power of love. I think we got everything. This has been a closer look. God's Love We Deliver cooks and brings over 2 million meals a year to men, women, and children living with HIV/AIDS, cancer, and other serious illnesses, and they need your help now more than ever. If you're watching this online, you can hit the donate button. Stay safe. Get vaccinated. We love you.